Hello everyone and welcome back to Nintendo Switch. In today's video, we're going to start talking about Azumarill from Pokémon Unite. Let's get into it. La-di-da, just gotta pull up my notes here. Alright. Let's talk about Azumarill's ability, Huge Power. Now, initially, this sounded like it could be really good, but also sounded like a bit of a double-edged sword. Here's what it says. When this Pokemon hits only a single opposing Pokemon with a basic attack, a move, or its Unite move, the hit is always a critical hit. However, when this Pokemon hits two or more opposing Pokemon at once with a basic attack, a move, or its Unite move, the hits are never a critical hit. So basically, all that means is if you're fighting someone one-on-one, you will always crit them. But if you're hitting more than one at the same time, you'll never get a crit. So, what does this mean for Azumarill? Well, let's talk about the items that I've tested and I think work pretty well. Now, initially you might think the Scope Lens or the Razor Claw and maybe some other attack items would be awesome because you can just get those critical hits every time, increase it as much as possible, yada yada yada. Yeah, and that sounds great in theory, but really, there's no reason to increase your critical chance at all because you're either going to crit on a one-on-one or you're not when you're facing more than one at the same time. So, if you really want to do a damage build, I would recommend running attack-based items. I believe Azumarill is a physical attacker, and you can utilize a lot of attack items, such as the Muscle Band, which is great for attack speed and attack damage. I think the Scope Lens can still be useful because it also ups how much damage you do in a critical hit. And then maybe you can throw in a Float Stone because you also get a speed increase. But the problem that I was facing in Pokémon Unite when using Azumarill was that no matter if you're on a one-on-one, if you've got all the attack items you can possibly have, you're getting crits, it's still not a lot of damage. I have seen a single Talonflame move do twice as much as Azumarill can do with its strongest move attack, which I believe is Aqua Tail. So, as Azumarill, you're doing about 1,000, maybe 1,300 on that last Aqua Tail attack, but a Talonflame can get you in 1,800 just using Fly once. It's and all at once. That's why I think you need to play Azumarill as an all-rounder, which is what she is. So, this means use Buddy Barrier, take advantage of the Score Shield. You might even be able to take advantage of Leftovers or even the Shell Bell because a lot of Azumarill's attacks will actually heal and lifesteal and all sorts of stuff. And if you could take advantage of that in a one-on-one fight, you're critting people, you're going to be doing more damage to them than they can do to you while you're healing. And then I think you can be a much better all-rounder at that point. Now, for the movesets that I would recommend. Most of Azumarill's moves are pretty viable. I can definitely see Whirlpool being pretty great because it creates a number of whirlpools that swirl around Azumarill while you're running. And since you're a melee attacker, you're going to be close anyway. So you're just getting ticks and ticks of damage from the whirlpool while you're fighting against other opponents. And I've seen it work pretty well, especially if it starts critting. You can also get increased healing when you damage opponents once it's fully upgraded. So you're dealing damage. If you're one-on-one, it's critting every single time, and you're going to be healing a little bit with each hit. Now, the other option than Whirlpool would be Aqua Tail, and this is what I have seen the most success with because it turns your next 3 basic attacks into like bigger attacks. You got more range, and if you hit opposing Pokemon at the extent of that range, you're going to deal more damage, and you're also going to get a little bit of lifesteal, which is really great. Aqua Tail also hastens your basic attacks a little bit, so they'll go a little bit faster, which can be great, and also great if you manage to get those cooldowns reduced. Now, for its other moveset, you have Play Rough, which basically lets you move faster. It can be great if you're trying to chase somebody down. You can catch up to them, hit them with the Play Rough, and get a few hits in. The problem that I see, and while the move Play Rough does say it has a stunning effect on it, and has a little bit of a lunge, it really doesn't do that much damage, even if you're critting, and the stun is like not even for very long. Like, this game is very fast paced, so stun might last about a third of a second, maybe half of a second, and you might not be doing enough damage. So what I recommend instead, and something else that is helpful even when in groups, is Water Pulse. It shoots water that bounces between opponents, and it can go up to 3 or 5 times. It has a little bit of a slow effect, and you can also roll dash during this move. So if you're holding a direction, you use the move, you can roll out of the way, which can also help you evade getting in the middle of a large group, which would be really bad for an Azumarill. Even though Azumarill is an all-rounder, not super tanky unless you really build it that way, which I do kind of recommend. Movesets I use would probably be Aqua Tail and Water Pulse. And then take advantage of the Unite move Belly Bash. The cooldown seems to be pretty low, so you could probably use Azumarill's Unite move 3 or 4, maybe even 5 times in a match, depending on how quickly you level up. And yeah, it's a pretty strong move. It trades HP for attack power, so you're going to start doing a lot more damage, which is awesome, especially if you got crits going on. But it does give you a shield in replace for HP, which is why running Buddy Barrier would be really good with this type of Unite move. Now, we've talked about the ability, we've talked about items, we've talked about the moveset, but how do you really want to play Azumarill? Here's my recommendation to you. Don't try to get in on every single fight and do as much damage as you can. Azumarill is an all-rounder, so you're somewhat tanky. You have a little bit more damage than a defender would, but you don't really shine in group settings. You shine on one-on-one settings. So, you can kind of engage the group if you see any stragglers, but if you're on one-on-one, pursue it as much as you can, because if you're tanky enough and if you're more well-rounded than they are, then chances are you're probably going to win the fight. Unless, of course, they have Dualudon or Decidueye, just really OP attackers in the game right now. But yeah, that's how I play. Avoid groups, take the one-on-ones, and run a tankier build. And that is my Azumarill review. If you liked watching this video and thought it was helpful, why not just subscribe and leave a like? I'm going to be posting more and more videos like this and others related to Nintendo Switch games. So be sure to look out for all of those. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Until next time, farewell.